Welcome back to the Junk Room, everybody. It's me, the Junkman, coming back at you with a video. Gonna tell you all about He-Man and the Masters of Space. Now, if you grew up in the 80s, you had to watch He-Man, the Masters Universe cartoon. I was a little late getting on board because I was still playing with my then probably Return of the Jedi action figures, and I said, I'm not buying He-Man. All my friends were getting into He-Man, putting up their Star Wars toys. And I looked down on them. How can you turn away Star Wars? But then that Christmas came, probably 82, 83, and I was forced into collecting He-Man. Why? Because Santa Claus brought me a bunch of He-Man toys. Almost all the figures, Castle Grayskulls, got two of that bird, I don't know his name, and even a car that looked like a shark. My Star Wars figures went into a shoebox and pushed under the bed. Sadly, I moved on from Star Wars to a new hero, Prince Adam, He-Man, and his fight against the evil Skeletor. Not only did I like the toys, I loved the cartoon. My school would get out at 2:45, and He-Man would come on at 3 o'clock. So I had no time to waste. I didn't live too far from the school, but I didn't have time to talk to my friends about the latest Punky Brewster episode. I had to get home because it was time to watch He-Man. But for us that grew up on the He-Man Film Nation cartoon, we started to grow up as the 80s rolled on. And He-Man kinda died out. The cartoon series ended, the toy sales slumped until Mattel canceled the line, and we had a god-awful live-action He-Man movie. Well, when Mattel wanted to revamp the toy line, to get new kids interested in He-Man Masters Universe, and to get the young kids interested in He-Man, they had to do what they did in the early 80s, get kids hooked on a He-Man cartoon. Now in 1989 they did relaunch the He-Man animated series and called it The New Adventures of He-Man. Along with that came a whole new toy line that just didn't look like He-Man to me. I remember seeing these in the store and thinking, that's not He-Man. It's like they didn't even try. Now the new cartoon series wasn't made by Film Nation, the company that made the original He-Man cartoon, because they closed down and went out of business at the beginning of 1989. In 1988, Mattel was already talking to Film Nation to bring the cartoon back and a new line of toys. And what Film Nation came up with was to take the old cartoon and revamp it. This was going to be more like a sequel to the cartoon we grew up on, rather than just revamping and starting over. One thing Mattel wanted to do with this new He-Man is get rid of the fantasy, the wizardry of He-Man. Although that's what made it great and made it different. But they wanted to take He-Man more into space. So Film Nation came up with a new series called He-Man and the Masters of Space. I don't think they spent much time coming up with that title. But this was going to be kind of a direct sequel to the original cartoon. So let's take a look at that planned cartoon that we never got. Prince Adam was no longer Prince Adam anymore. He was now Commander Adam. And he was a commander of a starship, the Starship Eternia, which you may remember was the name of He-Man's planet in the original cartoon. Commander Adam and I guess He-Man would travel deep space to fight the evil Skeletor. But not just Skeletor. Turns out Skeletor has a sister, but we'll get to her in a second. And next to Commander Adam's side during this adventure is the only character, other than He-Man and Skeletor, to make it from the old show to the new show, and that was Orko. And like the old show, He-Man has his sword. However, this sword is a little different than the one we know from the original cartoon. This one's more than a sword. It has amazing powers, but it doesn't share those powers with Adam. And probably the weirdest of all is this sword can talk. It's kind of a sassy talking sword. The adventures of Commander Adam and his crew would take the heroes across space and time throughout the galaxy. But how did Prince Adam go from that prince guy to a commander of a starship? Well, it took the destruction of Castle Grayskull to do that. In the concept for the original first episode, which was going to be a 4-parter, we learned how Prince Adam became Commander Adam. The show would open with Skeletor and He-Man locked in battle. Finally, the fight for Castle Grayskull was here. And Skeletor was having the upper hand in the fight. That wasn't until a quick move by He-Man sent Skeletor into another dimension. At last, the fight between good and evil on Eternia, the fight between He-Man and Skeletor was over. Skeletor was gone. Peace was reached on the planet Eternia. But as they're celebrating, the sorceress shows up to have a talk with Prince Adam and lets him know that he and the universe have a great bigger fight ahead of them. The sorceress uses her sorceress ways to show He-Man where Skeletor is on the other side of the universe, wreaking havoc. In this vision of Skeletor on the other side of the galaxy, he's putting together a new team of evil villains. Now, being the hero Adam is, he wants to go off and fight Skeletor, but he's not really sure how, being Skeletor's on the other side of the galaxy. And not only is it on the other side of the galaxy, it's in the distant future. So what can Prince Adam do to fight He-Man? Well, the sorceress asks him, are you willing to give up all you love? Are you willing to give up Eternia? Are you willing to leave all your friends to go fight Skeletor? And being the good guy he is, Prince Adam knows that he must give up everything, including his loved ones, to stop Skeletor from taking over a new part of the galaxy. And this is where Prince Adam learns the biggest secret from Castle Grayskull. The sorceress tells Prince Adam, or I guess He-Man, to withdraw the Sword of Power. As he does, the ground begins to shake. The whole castle starts to rumble. The sorceress tells Prince Adam to throw the sword into the wall. The ground of Castle Grayskull starts to bubble up and erupts in smoke and fire. When the smoke and ashes all clear, what do we see? A great spaceship called Starship Eternia. It rises from the crater where the great Castle Grayskull once stood. And there, appearing before everything, the father of Castle Grayskull, Darius. And he turns the ship over to Adam. Adam's little buddy Orko asks if he can travel along with He-Man, but He-Man lets him know that this is a mission he must fight alone. But don't worry, Orko fans. Orko sneaks aboard the ship without He-Man knowing. As the sorceress wishes He-Man the best of luck and waves him goodbye, He-Man heads off to the other side of the galaxy in the distant future. He wonders how can he defeat Skeletor this time without the Sword of Power. The sorceress lets him know he'll always have the power of Grayskull. So Prince Adam leaves the starship, leaving his family and friends behind, heading off across the galaxy in the distant future to fight Skeletor in space. Let's take a look at some of the characters we would have gotten in this new show. Darius, the sorceress's father. He is Commander Adam's master-at-arms aboard the starship. He is the spirit of the ship. He has a lightning-quick mind and even faster reflexes. He's the only one, except for Orko, aboard the Eternia, who knows Commander Adam's other identity as He-Man. Although in some of the drafts he is the father of the sorceress, in some drafts he's not. Skeletrix, the younger sister of Skeletor. Skeletor and his sister are very competitive. Unlike Skeletor, she went to the best schools of evil arts, and she's convinced that she could be a lot better at being bad than Skeletor. She's constantly correcting him and pointing out his flaws. She makes Skeletor so nervous at times, he becomes babbling bundles of bones. Worst of all, she thinks He-Man is a really cute hunk, something that Skeletor doesn't seem to agree with. Slither, a bright red snake from one of the star system's mental planets. He can wiggle in places where no one else can go. He is forever hungry and has a weakness for fresh, ripe fruit, which he swallows whole. Furbo. This creature is described as a fat, furry beast with 4 fat, furry arms. The top of Furbo's head opens up like a hinged lid to reveal a smaller, furrier version of the same creature living inside. The large version of Furbo is kindly, but dim. The smaller version that lives inside is a fast-talking wise guy who loves to make fun of the bigger counterpart. Laura Taker. He has 2 thick tentacles where his arms should be, and he's seen as the businessman of the star system. He's built Club Royale up to one of the biggest, busiest casinos in the star system. He's good dealing with politicians and bargaining with the right officials to keep his casino in business. This space station will orbit 3 stars. Over a mile square, it contains a small city, a zoo, the home of Queen Ophelia, the ruler of the star system. Steelclaw, a metallic dinosaur that was hunted down by poachers and left for dead. That was until the royal zookeepers found the creature and transported him to the Queen's Palace Zoo, where he was slowly nursed back to health. Unfortunately, his tail and his feet were so badly mauled in the zoo that the zoo had to replace them with metal parts. Torben, a green creature with robotic goat legs, and a bionic tail. He has a bulldozer kind of personality. Now that's a look at the somewhat sequel to the original He-Man cartoon that we never got. Sadly, like I said before, Filmation went out of business in 1989, and Mattel went a slightly different route, although taking some of the plans for this series into the New Adventures of He-Man. I kind of wish we got this one, being it was made by Filmations and felt more like a sequel to the original cartoon, instead of just like a reboot. Let me know in the comments below, would you have liked to see this? Does this sound better than the New Adventures of He-Man? To be honest, I don't really know much about the New Adventures of He-Man. It just never seemed like He-Man from the little I saw of it. Anyway, thank you for watching. As always, please subscribe to the channel, thumb up so I know you like my content, and until the next video, may the power of Grayskull be with you.
Thank you, sir, for that unsolicited testimony.